Hello there. I just wanted to put together a quick video talking about some of the changes. I did a big re-ranking on the live stream, and I kind of went over the results of the re-ranking on said live stream, but I did some updating. So I went through and I cleaned it up a bit. There was some stuff that got kind of based on the way the head-to-head re-ranking works. Sometimes I click the wrong button, or maybe I change my mind a little bit, but then that can throw off the whole thing quite a bit. So I did go through and kind of fine comb through everything, and so this is the really definitive. This is how I feel after doing the whole year of all of the rankings and everything. How I feel about all 364 games, because again we dropped ET because that was April Fool's joke, and we dropped Quidditch Champions because that game did not release at all in the way that it was when I played it. So but 364 games, and I'm going to be adding a whole bunch of them, actually, it turns out, just not in this video. But soon, very soon, you will see some stuff that is going to get added. But it's not going to be in this, so you'll have to wait and see, I guess. But so without further ado, I'm going to hop into it. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to just focus on the things that had the biggest changes up or down, and I'm going to talk briefly about each of those items, about why they changed so much. So here we go. So here's the list. And you'll notice that the top of the list is pretty much consistent. It's on a color scale here. Just you'll see that anything that's more green means that it dropped a bunch of. It climbed, like it's a lower number, so it gained favor, and then anything that's really red means that it dropped and it lost favor. So over here we have the new rank. This is the old rank. And then this is the change, and I have Google Sheets here set up to scale with that. So lots of little changes here after the top 10, nothing super crazy. I mean, like Undertale got a little better, Final Fantasy VII I put a little worse, but that's not really a knock on Final Fantasy VII. It's more so that these things held up in some ways that exceeded what they were in my memory, essentially. So lots of little changes here. Original Portal was a more replayable and tight experience than I expected, so that did go up a bit. God of War 3, I think just like something that's so spectacle oriented and focused on action combat, and now just newer games can probably compete with that a little better. But that's not to say that God of War 3, and again, this God of War 3 is really holding the place of the actual first trilogy as a whole. That's not to say that it's bad. Obviously, it's still very good. It almost cracks what would have been December here. But the first real thing that had a big change was Final Fantasy VI. It's the new number 39. There's so many great things about Final Fantasy VI. I'm not going to get into all of it because, I mean, hey, I made a whole video for it. That's kind of the point. Now I don't need to talk about what I think. If people are like, hey, what do you think about Final Fantasy VI? I could send them a long video. They can watch it. So one of the reasons that it jumped so much is really just a lot of the combat and things of that nature were better than I remembered. I blitzed through the game the first time I played it, and this time I got to take a little more of my time and kind of pay more attention to some of the random dialogue and things that like originally it's like, oh, Kefka's great and Terra's great and Sabin's great, but Edgar, I kind of forgot how great he is, and there's so many characters. It's a large cast, and they're all really, really good. And one of the things I talked about in the live stream, I talked about this, but one of the things that made me appreciate Final Fantasy VI more is that playing it and Final Fantasy IX in the same year, so close together, really reminded me, and maybe not reminded, but made clear to me how much of a lot of the things I really love about Final Fantasy IX, it kind of evolved from what they did in Final Fantasy VI. There's a lot of Final Fantasy VI in the DNA and the bones of Final Fantasy IX, and it's really a terrific game that is so ahead of its time. It's astounding. Final Fantasy VI is terrific. Earthbound, same kind of deal. Not to the same extent, but obviously 55 is a bigger number than 21. But Earthbound definitely got a bit of a leap. Just like before, with Final Fantasy VI, Earthbound is a game that I played pretty quickly and didn't really think too critically or kind of smell the roses a little bit the first time I played it, because it was like, oh, this is a big historic game, I should play it, and I was just like focused on the idea of, I did it, cool, it's done. And I think I have a little more appreciation for some of the tone and things a little better now. Some Pokemon games. Pokemon in general went down a little bit, I think, for most stuff. Yeah, so, oh no, that went up a couple spots. But yeah, you'll see some Pokemon kind of dip down as some other, and it's not a knock on Pokemon, it's that some of this other stuff that was better than I remembered, well, in order for it to go up, other stuff did have to go down. So that's part of it. Real big leap. Original Animal Crossing gained 85 spots, essentially. So it went from 138 to 53. There's so many things about this, but the big thing is that going from earlier in the year, and again, I did play a little bit like in the middle of the year too, playing Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I was a little worried going into the original Animal Crossing to make the video for 138, because I was worried that these quality of life features they had developed over the years across the franchise, the just sheer amount of stuff and things, I was worried that I was going to get to Animal Crossing and it was going to feel a little empty in comparison and a little clunky. And there's some clunkiness, but the clunkiness isn't like anything that I think really detracted much. It's just like, yeah, it's there, but it's fine. But to my surprise, Animal Crossing, it turns out that my opinion of Animal Crossing, which I like factored this into the 138, was thinking it would be, was not just rose-tinted glasses. Oh, there's a cat. Sorry, Mikey. We're doing it live. I mean, this is pre-recorded, but whatever. So Animal Crossing was not just rose-tinted glasses. Actually, it held up so much better than I expected it to, and it really was every bit as good and charming and everything as I remembered, which was great news. And like all of the things that are in it that aren't in, for example, New Horizons or some of the other games as well. I mean, like the NES library that it did is still terrific to me. I love all of the different parts of the town, and yeah, I mean, I talked about a lot of this in the video, but I just want to hammer home the point of how this game is actually, the first time they did it is still the best one, and they really, I don't know how they keep moving away from so many of the things that I thought made the franchise kind of what it is and be so charming and cute and amazing. Let's see here. Star Wars Battlefront 2 dropped a little. Halo 2 dropped a little. And again, a lot of these things that dropped a little are just, I don't think less of them. I just think more of some other stuff. Legend of Zelda Wind Waker gained a ton of spots. The big thing here, and this is a really important thing because of how much time you spend on the game with it. So this game came out originally in 2002, although that's the Japanese release date. I don't remember if it was 2003 for North America, but the big thing is that I was less than 10 years old, and I think I just really struggled with a compass in a broad open water with almost no landmarks, where now I could wrap my head around that. And so actually the navigation and everything for Wind Waker was much smoother than I remembered, and in the world felt like there was more interesting things going on with stuff that I could explore and do and find and see. And also the dialogue was a lot wittier than I remembered. I remembered it being like kind of goofy and funny, but no, it's smart and goofy and funny. Stormgate dropped a ton of spots, but again, that's because the original ranking was based on like, this is still number 30 is the old ranking, and that's kind of still where I expect this game to eventually climb to, maybe even a little higher. But like for the 1.0 release, but it's not there yet. And this number 69 is more of a true look at how do I think the game is doing today, right now, not in the future, but right now. And so I think that Stormgate still is super fun and super exciting, and it's still my most anticipated game of not only of 2025, but this is the most excited about a game I've been in maybe ever, but at least a very, very long time. I'm super excited for all of the things on the horizon for Stormgate, but just the core mechanics and game feel and things are earning it a spot, in the top 70 here. But it's not, it's not Hades, right? It's got quite a ways to go before it gets there. Super Smash Bros. Brawl. That gained some spots, mostly due to, so it's the new 71, it used to be 101. The big thing is that it, some of the items were more fun than I remembered. Some of the sluggishness of it wasn't quite as sluggish as I remembered either. In my Super Smash Bros. Melee video, I talked about how one of the things that makes Melee stand out from the rest of the franchise is that it is quick and snappy, and like all of the characters are really fluid and really responsive in their movements, and it's definitely the most like fighting game of this fighting game franchise, which is a funny thing to say. But other than like the random tripping, which is still beyond dumb in Brawl, it wasn't quite as slow as it was in my brain. So Brawl got a little bit of a boost there from that, for sure. Ori and the Blind Forest, maybe it's because I've played it a few times now to completion. Just some of many of the, not necessarily the like big boss areas, which there's not that many actually boss fights. The quote-unquote boss fights are still just platforming. So other than those, a lot of the like just navigating from place to place feels a little more samey than I remembered, but it might just be I've played so much of it now that I don't know, maybe I'm numb to it. But regardless, it did drop from 46 to 75. Okay, here's this might be the thing that got the biggest jump. I don't remember. Okay, it might be tied. So NBA Street Volume 2. This game, like, I remember playing a lot of this game as a kid. I mean, this came out in 2003. I was 9. I played it then. I played it 2004, 2005. So 9, 10, 11. Played a lot of it then. And I remember loving it. But I just kind of assumed in my memory and in my brain that maybe it wasn't actually like that good, and like the controls maybe weren't that crazy and that fluid, and it was just like the idea of like, oh, I've got Dr. Dre against Shaq, and like the attitude of it I thought kind of carried the memory. But no, the mechanics are phenomenal. This is still, I think, the best. Yeah, this is the best sports game ever made. I love NBA Street Volume 2. It turns out I liked it way more than I remembered. I mean, well, really, as much as I remembered, but I was sure it was not going to be. And so turns out that 10-year-old me was correct, and 30-year-old me was wrong. So there we go. Um, which, by the way, there's a game coming out next year called The Run Got Next, which is branding itself as like a spiritual successor to NBA Street, that franchise. And we don't have a lot to go on. There's like a teaser trailer and stuff, and I've read some interviews and things, and it sounds like they get it. Now, game feel is everything, so we'll see. But I'm very excited for The Run Got Next. It should come out in 2025 this year, but it doesn't actually have a release date, so we'll see. Maybe it gets pushed back. Battle for Middle-earth got a bit of a bump because I hadn't played multiplayer on it before, and then I did, and actually pretty good. Wheel of Katamari dropped off a little bit, mostly because I think just the levels didn't feel like it's different. Like the gameplay loop is kind of the same thing over and over, right? But it is a good gameplay loop, so it's still top 100. I mean, number 91, that is not anything to scoff at. Live Alive, the more time I've spent thinking about Live Alive, the more time I've spent really liking it. Just the whole way that everything kind of comes together, and it technically, maybe it's disingenuous to put 1994 here. It is the remake they made a few years ago, but it's it's 90% the same game. Just updated graphics, updated music. There is an extra little bit that you get to do in the remake that was not in the original, and that bit's pretty cool. so maybe I shouldn't be saying 1994, but for simplicity, I'm gonna put it here. So let's see here. Okay, all right. Tooth and Tail, new number 100, up from 227. Tooth and Tail slaps. It's I got into the multiplayer similarly to I got into the multiplayer for Battle for Middle-earth. The big thing here is that I love Lord of the Rings, but to me the campaign for Lord of the Rings is way better than the campaign for Tooth and Tail. But the overall gameplay on Tooth and Tail is largely better. There's some nuance, like if you like having economy management and individual microing units, that's not in Tooth and Tail. I mean, certainly the scale of the types of things you do in Battle for Middle-earth way higher, but much tighter gameplay on Tooth and Tail. Anyways, the point here is that getting into the multiplayer and really kind of learning what the hell I was doing, as opposed to just kind of fumbling through the campaign, it made me really appreciate Tooth and Tail so much more. I have a much deeper appreciation for how this game was able to take, number 1, StarCraft 2, number 8, StarCraft, number 9, Warcraft 3. So take these extremely intricate and nuanced and at times very complex RTS games, this whole genre that is known for being difficult and challenging and complicated, and taking it and putting it into such a cute little package that is so approachable and playable with just a controller, in a way that you still feel like you're doing all of these things, all of this multitasking, all of this stuff, and you're doing scouting, and it's quick and it's fast, and you're having to go, as opposed to like Halo Wars, which is pretty slow, is really remarkably impressive. And Tooth and Tail, I also, for the record, getting a Steam Deck earlier this year, is not a small factor into Tooth and Tail jumping a ton, because this might be the game I've played the most on my Steam Deck. I've played a lot of Tooth and Tail on it. It is great to be able to. For so long, I have wanted to, I'm laying in bed, I don't want to get up, but I want to play an RTS game. I've looked at stuff on my phone, and there's some, surprisingly, actually, my 8-year-old brother showed me this game, Stick Wars Legacy, and to be honest, not bad. I'll probably make a video for it at some point. But for the most part, there's no like portable options for RTS that don't suck. But Tooth and Tail has everything, and it's on Steam Deck. That's portable enough. So yeah, Tooth and Tail, amazing. Yeah, some stuff dropped. Cthulhu Saves the World, Super Monkey Ball 2. I'm gonna speed it up, just kind of hit the bigger things now. XCOM Enemy Unknown, this gained a bunch of spots, mostly because, to be honest, I didn't actually get that terribly far in it before. I remember why I stopped playing it originally. I had a couple of characters that I was really invested in, like emotionally, because you get to name them, you train them up, you worry so much about their injuries, blah blah blah. And the one mission just went horribly wrong, and I lost like everybody that I cared about. So I stopped, and that was like, eh. But actually, in getting back to recording it more and playing it to do that, I was like, dang, it actually isn't that bad once you lose people, and you build up new people and you get attached to them, and some of the mission variety I think got a little better as the game went on, and there's so much depth and so much stuff to unpack in this game. It's phenomenal. It's really good. Dishonored, original Dishonored, yeah, first Dishonored. There's multiple. So the first Dishonored game also jumped a number of spots. Mostly that was just I didn't see the branching narrative options really before. I didn't know, and so seeing that certain things play out differently based on stuff I did was cool. That was really cool, and I'm glad that I got to see that this time. BioShock 2, mostly to be honest, I don't think I factored in my love for the multiplayer enough into the 171 ranking. And also some of the narrative, I thought in my memory was like, it was a little like, I don't know, not disjointed, but it felt like it didn't have the same kind of, and it still doesn't, for the record. It didn't have the same kind of pacing and twists and surprises of BioShock and BioShock Infinite, but the story that is there was a little better than I remember. Fantasy Life, this also jumped a ton of spots. And really the big thing here is that I 100%, I maxed out, I did every quest with every class. When I had this game before, and then at that point I was like, well, I've done everything, I'm gonna sell the game, and I did. But replaying it made me want to do it again. So the idea that I put, I don't know, 400 hours into 100%ing Fantasy Life, and then playing it again for another, I don't know, I played it more than I needed to for the video, that's for sure. Another 15-20 hours. And wanting to go, I could spend another 300 whatever hours to do this. That's impressive, and I think that deserved a big jump for Fantasy Life. Spec Ops: The Line jumped a lot. Replaying it, just, I mean, again, this is the only video, I think, the only video that you might not be able to see on my channel, depending on if you're age verified on YouTube. The story here is insane, if you haven't seen this, and it is depressing. It's depressing. But like the idea that playing it a second time, because I told myself I would never play this game again, and then I made the channel. Playing it a second time, it hit me just as hard as the first time, and that's pretty impressive for this. Like, it's meant to be, pull the rug out from under you, trick you, haha. Well, not funny, but haha. And the idea that I knew it was coming, and it still hit me the same way. Really impressive. The gunplay does kind of suck, though. So, like, story-wise, it's up here. It's up here in, like, the top 10. Mechanics-wise, it's probably, like, I don't know, down here. Like 280. Somewhere in that ballpark. But, yeah. Where was I? Among Us jumped some spots, mostly because, like, dang it, that game is fun. Final Fantasy IV. So this is a game that originally, this is really funny actually. I talked about this in the live stream because I had Hunter Donaldson on for part of it, and he's the creator and co-host of Old Gamers Almanac, and inspiration for me starting this whole countdown project to begin with. But I was a guest on Old Gamers Almanac for their episode for Final Fantasy IV that they did last year, and I wanted it to coincide with the release dates. And due to scheduling, Hunter got to push this thing, like, this was not even in the top 200 originally. Hunter got to just push it basically another full month out. It was a little under a month. So it already had jumped to this spot, and then in replaying it and stuff, there's a lot more to the story and the characters than just the, like, Cecil, and like, the whole cast is actually really good. And the fights, the boss fights, were more memorable than I remembered. There's a lot of stuff, and some of this might actually just be like the pixel remasters are really good, and so a number of these old Final Fantasy games have gone up, which you'll see a number of them have. But obviously 6, 4, there's some others, but yeah, I was so wrong putting this in the 200s. It's insane. All right, Scribblenauts jumped up a ton, and that is entirely off of I forgot just how replayable it is. There's a thing in there where you can do the same levels a bunch of times in a row, but you're not allowed to use the same solutions each time you do it, and that is just great. Like, Scribblenauts Unlimited, you'll see I have ranked way lower because it's like you just kind of do the same solutions to so many things. Like, the amount of times that I was just like, oh, I need to get up there. All right, wings, attach, go, is pretty lame. Whereas in Scribblenauts, maybe I do wings for one thing, but then I've got to come up with another solution like 4 more times, and that is great. Super Meat Boy, to be honest, I forgot how good that game feels. Game feel is everything, as some people say, and the game feels really good. Assassin's Creed dropped down a bit, mostly because I don't know, maybe that's not fair, but I had a horrible time actually trying to just play it, record it. I had a lot of technical issues. That's not really the whole reason, but it did feel, the game felt a little more disjointed than I remembered. Getting pulled out of the action for the segments with Mason was a little, I mean, some of them are really good, but some of them are like, okay, let's go, I want to go be an assassin again. Some of the kills I felt like were more linear than I remembered as well. But overall the game is still very good, and realistically, I don't know, maybe I'll change my mind later and it'll wind up being like up here or something. But yeah, for now, it's here, and for the foreseeable future, it will be here. Like I said, this is kind of the definitive ranking, and this is what I'm sticking with, and for at least the year. We'll see if I do another adjustment in like reviewing stuff from the year that I had this year. So Marvel Ultimate Alliance got a jump. I forgot about the comic missions, and those are really fun. Overcooked 2 got another jump. Mostly just my wife and I had been plucking away at this for a while, and we got to some new levels that we hadn't gotten to before, and they were really fun. Let's see here. Yeah, some Roller Coaster Tycoon, just less clunk, or no, that went down, sorry. It's fine. I mean, like, it's really good. It's really good. But I think the pacing is something just that I'm not up for anymore in a simulation game. Which I'm guessing there's a way for me to adjust that, and I need to look into it. But it's also some of the interface is definitely no longer up to industry standards, that's for sure. That game definitely looks like it's from 1999, and I don't just mean the pixels. Let's see here. Tetris dropped a bunch, which I don't know, maybe it didn't need to drop quite that much, but like Tetris is not like, it's great, but it's Tetris. I don't think I need to expand on that much. This dropped a bit, mostly because it was simpler than I remembered. Obviously, when I was 10 and I played it, it was more interesting. The combat didn't have the depth that I remembered it having necessarily. Skyrim dropped more because just the more I think about Skyrim, and especially having played in the same year now, I mean, obviously relative to the percentage of the content available in them, I did not play that much, but playing several hours, you know, double digits of hours in Morrowind, double digits of hours in Skyrim, double digits of hours in Oblivion, in not that far apart of a window, other than Oblivion was like, you know, really high up. Made me just kind of go like, Skyrim's better than Morrowind, you'll see, but you'll also see that Morrowind jumped a ton. So like Skyrim went down and Morrowind jumped up. So it's definitely like the gulf between Oblivion and Skyrim was just highlighted to me. So that's where a lot of that is. Shadowrun came up a bunch, 48 spots. It's the new 150. And it's just really good. And also being able to, this is the first time I played it on PC, so mouse and keyboard felt way better than controller there. And that might be part of it. Maybe just the game feel was like better than I remembered, because it actually was better. It could be that. But I don't know, just something about the game felt better, and it's hard to put into words. Magicka also came up a bunch of spots. I forgot just how funny the game is. It is hilarious. But yeah, definitely a thing that, this is a game that I'm going to be doing with, not necessarily specifically this, but I'm going to be doing multiplayer sessions with my Patreon members, and this is the game I could see a group of us for sure doing and messing around with, because man, that game is hilarious. I already talked a bit about Morrowind being better than I remembered. Mostly it comes down to, I forgot how detailed and great the journal system is. In some ways, you know, if I were to make an argument that Morrowind is the best Elder Scrolls game, the journal is the reason. The idea that I don't just open a quest log and it goes, hey, go kill this guy, collect 10 of these things. Like, the idea that I have this journal of stuff that my character did each day, but I can flip through it and go like, okay, so on this day I talked to this person and we talked about this and that, and then all right, so then 2 days later I found them again. And so like being able to actually dig through that stuff as if I am the character, like it's much more role playing than any of these other ones. Although that being said, I haven't played the first two Elder Scrolls, so maybe that's in there too, but my understanding is it's not. Could be wrong, but yeah, it's the role play of Morrowind is far more focused on the role play experience. Final Fantasy 13 jumped up a bit. I love Sazh, and man, you know, the combat system has grown on me. I was never, by the way, like a lot of people hate on the combat system. I was never one to really hate on it. I just didn't love it. Where I still don't love it, but I definitely am closer to loving it now than I was then. Final Fantasy V jumped a ton of spots. I talked about this in the live stream, but basically the idea that a lot of the individual character, like the story to me was very forgettable before, which to be honest, like the narrative is still, I think, one of the weaker narratives of the franchise, but the individual character plots and threads are very good. And the dialogue was way better than I remembered, and digging into some of the job system, which is really what kind of earned it our original ranking, felt even better than I remembered as well. So it gained a lot. There was a lot of little things that contributed to Final Fantasy V getting better. Original Super Mario Bros. Dropped off a little bit, but that's mostly because stuff that I liked more had to fall. So Limbo, looks like this might be the actual thing that jumps the most spots up. I think that it had been long enough since I had played Limbo that I forgot the solutions to the puzzles. And going through it again and having to kind of rediscover, well, not, so the first time, some of the puzzles I felt like it was just like the game was not communicating enough information to me. But this time around, maybe I just remembered enough stuff, but still feeling like I had to tinker and discover, where maybe I just have gotten better at these games. I don't know, could be that. But it felt like the pacing felt better, and there was a lot more. I felt more of the charm this time and less of the frustration. And that is everything in a puzzle platformer. You want charm and you don't want frustration, and you want to feel rewarded, and I felt rewarded. Same idea with Fez. I saw more of the game this time. There's a million things to do in Fez. I haven't beaten this game, but I saw more of what the game is really about, and I think originally maybe I didn't approach it in the right way. I was trying to do big, like, all right, I'm gonna play Fez for 5 hours, and that's not. I don't think that's the way to play Fez. Fez is a terrific Steam Deck game. If you're like, I've got 20 minutes, I'm gonna pull out my Steam Deck while I wait wherever, maybe you have a doctor's appointment, I don't know, but and you can just knock out a couple of things in Fez, and then you move on, and it is really good in these smaller sessions. It's great. Warrior Smooth Moves, mostly, this is very funny to me, actually, that this jumped up, because I didn't get to play it. I talked about it in the video. If you want to know why I couldn't play it, watch the video. But it's a game that I spent a lot of time thinking about after I couldn't play it, and mostly it jumping up is fueled by how disappointed I was that I couldn't play it. Turned out I was looking forward to playing Warrior Smooth Moves so much more than I thought. Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance dropped a ton. Mostly in this I did kind of expect. The game is still really good, and I have like a soft spot for it. But it is clunkier, and there's not as many things to do as like I remembered. This was as a reminder. This was my introduction to action RPGs. We certainly weren't playing Diablo at the time, at least not quite yet. And so, like, to me, this was like, oh, this is what these games are about. This is amazing. You can do all this stuff. You can do all these things. You can build your character all these ways. And, like, I had no idea that there was, like, not actually that much to do in Dark Alliance. But it's still fun. It is great cooperatively. So that's kind of the main thing, still earning it a spot above. I assume that's still above the first Diablo. Yeah. Yeah, above Diablo, but not Diablo 2. There we go. Fat Princess. WarioWare Inc. Mega Micro Games is the Game Boy Advance one. I talked about this quite a bit in the live stream when I was doing rankings with this. But the big thing here is that I got a Miu Mini Plus. And that's just like almost like a little Game Boy that you can just, it's an emulation device that's like a Game Boy and you put in your pocket. And this game is so perfect for that. It's crazy because when you just tap the power button, it just puts it to sleep, but it also save states for you. And so I can play the game literally for 10 seconds. Like if I'm waiting in line at like the gas station, and I just could, all right, let's do a couple of these, and then, all right, go pay for my stuff, and then it's actually so great that I can do that way, and it gave me a much bigger appreciation for the mini games in the game. I also forgot about the towers. There's these towers that have like challenge mode stuff. I forgot about them, and they're really good. All right, how long have I been yeah, it's been like almost 40 minutes. I'm gonna speed this up. Hand of Fate, I saw more of the game now. I still haven't done quite everything in the game, and the game gets pretty interesting. It's really good. Crazy Taxi, I forgot how much the soundtrack absolutely slaps. I remembered a couple of songs, but really the whole thing is great, and actually the driving mechanics are better than I thought they would be. Robot Unicorn Attack, speaking of amazing music, holy crap, I played this for the channel, and then I went to work and I showed some coworkers and we played it. Maybe when we should have been working, and yeah, oh my god, this game is still so good. The Sexy Brutale. I think the original ranking to me, the 255 as opposed to the new ranking of 183, was rooted more in disappointment of there not being more. I still think that this is an excellent gimmick and idea and was done really well. I still wish that there was a stage, so you get all these masks as you solve these murders, and each mask gives you a new power you can use that you'll then inevitably need to solve the next murder. And so I do wish that there was actually another couple of murders that just were really difficult, that utilized every mask. But really, once you have all the masks, you beat the game. There is like a thing, but it's very tiny. It's basically like the last mask might as well just be a key to a door. So that is still disappointing, but I think it was a little too harsh on that. And in replaying it again, I remembered how charming and how fun the process of getting there really is. Pokemon Sword and Shield, I just, I don't know. Most Pokemon games have something about them that is really endearing, that is like, oh well, the other stuff is done better in other parts of the franchise, but it does have this thing. And like Sword and Shield does have like Dynamaxing and stuff, and that's okay, but it's not great. And I think just my growing love for Scarlet and Violet has kind of dampened my opinion on Sword and Shield a bit. Don't Starve, basically it comes down to they added more stuff to the game. There's been a ton of updates over the years, and the more stuff they added is cooler than the first time I was playing it. NBA Live 2004, Detroit Pistons won the championship in 2004. I will always play that team here. Chauncey Billups is my favorite basketball player of all time. He's terrific. But the main reason that this jumped a bunch of stuff and is the new 187 as opposed to the old 258 is that the game feel was similarly to, although not quite the same, to NBA Street Volume 2. The mechanics in game feel were much smoother than I anticipated. It actually feels pretty good to play. Pokemon Sun and Moon dropped. There is not actually anything here that, other than like a couple of the Alolan evolutions that I do like. I don't particularly like the story for Sun and Moon. I don't particularly like the game gimmick, the combat gimmick. I mean, but like it's still, the core gameplay loop of Pokemon is always still good. So like I've never played an actual Pokemon game. I mean, there's been like spin-offs that I've played and been like, I don't like that. But I've never played an actual Pokemon game that I haven't at least had like a really good amount of fun. So it dropped, but I mean, it's still top 200. Risk of Rain jumped some spots. Mostly that's another Steam Deck boost. Mario Kart 64, this dropped a ton. This dropped like a rock. So it was 103, now it's 200. So I talked about like those basketball games having much better game feel than I remembered in mechanics, and holding up really well. This game did not. And really, like, the other Mario Kart games are just better. Well, other than the one that's below this. But, so, like, Mario Kart 64 is classic and a ton of fun for nostalgia trips and stuff. But, like, and it's still fun. Mario Kart is always fun. But, yeah, it's rougher around the edges than I remembered for sure. One Way Heroics jumped a ton of spots. Also, Lego Harry Potter jumped up a bunch of spots. I don't want to skip over that, and Castle Crashers. Mostly these are just like silly, campy fun that I think I undervalued the silly, campy fun the first go around. One thing I've learned this year is that I value silly, campy fun probably more than I thought I did. One Way Heroics, I talked about this extensively in the live stream. I sold the game to Hunter, essentially. I pitched it to him. I convinced him to buy it. It was on sale. He spent $1. But that's in the highlights of the stream too. I posted that as a separate video. but basically the gameplay loop and gimmick here is really cool. And I actually beat the game for the first time in recording for the channel, and that works cooler than I thought it did, and that's a lot of it. And the replayability here is through the roof if you want to do it. The replayability is higher than I anticipated. So yeah. Pyre jumped up a little, or went down a little bit. The story, the pacing is a little rough, but it's still a lot of fun. Let's see here. Batman Arkham Origins dropped down a bit. I maybe was a little harsh on it, but I mean, something had to give for all these other things to go up. Mostly just playing Arkham City again. Like everything that Arkham Origins is trying to do that's cool, it took something from Arkham City and just made it worse. So like comparatively, even though Arkham Origins is still a very good game, it feels like a much worse game than I think it truly is. So that's kind of where this comes from. Nidhogg dropped a bit. It's funny, but I think that maybe it's starting to outwear its welcome. I've played more Nidhogg than maybe I should have. Mobile Legends Bang Bang went up a bit. I think that they've kind of it was a little too linear and straightforward at first, and in updates since the last time I was really playing it, they added some more interesting stuff. Puzzle Quest, just overall, just the RPG elements are way better than I remembered. Like terrifically better than I remembered. The gameplay is exactly what I remembered, but the RPG elements are way better than I remembered. Peggle, actually so it's funny, my ranking of Peggle originally came from playing not Peggle, but Peggle, the add-on for WoW that put Peggle into WoW as a way to distribute loot. This is a thing that existed for a short while, and but that was, I think, like a more limited version of the game, maybe. Certainly I didn't actually dig that far into the levels there. Maybe that was because I didn't need to, maybe it's because they weren't there, I don't remember. But the level variety in Peggle is more intricate than I remembered, at least. So it got a nice boost. Wii Sports Resort, to be honest, a number of the motion controls for the new games didn't feel as good as I remembered. It felt like it was a lot more just like taking the Wii and just waving it, and yeah, some were really good though. Don't get me wrong, some are very good, but it didn't have that leap up that I quite remembered. Final Fantasy 3, I think that's so. This is actually, most of my experience with Final Fantasy 3 was the DS version, which has some things that are better than any of the other versions. They expand the character subplots quite a bit, but there's a lot of other stuff that I think just works better in the more traditional pixel style stuff. So I think I wound up enjoying it a little more this way. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. It's funny that this went down because I've been playing it quite a bit on my Steam Deck and have really enjoyed it on that because I'm doing the remake. But mostly I think just there was less variety to some of the stages and the tricks you can do than I remembered. But it's still really good and really fun as like an arcade style thing. Sonic Generations, I didn't play it with a controller before, and that was a mistake. And playing with a controller this time was way better. That's it. Diablo 1 dropped quite a bit. I forgot how. I actually forgot it didn't have like real classes. So the linearity there was jarring to me, and I forgot about that. But it is still really fun. But it's also way more punishing, and I just don't know if I want to devote that time. Mario Power Tennis went up because I actually forgot just how good it was, apparently. Backyard Baseball went up. I forgot about some of the things that you can do regarding pitching, like with the juice. You can juice the ball, and you have a juice box and stuff. And I forgot how cool some of those pitches were. So a lot of the bonus points that caused Backyard Baseball to become the new 235 as opposed to the old 323 has to do with the pitching being better than I remembered. Let's see here. Inside got better. Mostly similarly to Limbo, I think that the game held up better and playing it again than I thought it would. I think originally my thought was like, yeah, you play it once and then you're done and you're good. But actually doing the levels again was like, no, that I could play this another 2 or 3 times. This is just really fun. Brutal Legend, as a person who, in the time since I first played Brutal Legend, not that long after it came out, has gotten much more into RTS. The weird RTS but not RTS elements of Brutal Legend have felt clunkier and more foreign to me. That's not to say they're bad. It's just, I think, no longer what I'm necessarily looking for from it. Braid, I think that in replaying Braid, some of the genius of the puzzles stood out a little more to me. Like, some of the puzzles are like just kind of annoying, but some of them are phenomenal. And I wish they were all that phenomenal, but some are unfortunately kind of annoying. That's why it's number 240 and not like, 100 or something. but yeah. Jenny LeClue Detective-oo got better, mostly because as time goes on, I keep itching and waiting for them to continue the story and finish the story because it left us on a big cliffhanger. And in theory, they're making a sequel, but it's been almost 10 years. And the last update was 2 years ago, them going, yep, we're working on it. So maybe it's coming, maybe it's not. And I really want the sequel. Rayman 2, game feel was better than I remembered. Overlord. So it's funny that like Overlord and Brutal Legend actually are not that different, but Overlord leans more into some of the Pikmin RTS type stuff, and strategy than the action, where Brutal Legend leans more into the action. And I think that that's just better service to the game to do that. Pokemon Stadium 2 dropped a ton, and that's mostly because the mini games are still terrific, but actually, and I think both Pokemon Stadiums dropped a bit. The everything else is less terrific than I remembered, but the mini games are still just as good. StarCraft 2 visual novel went up a little bit because maybe it's just because I've spent so much more time thinking about and looking forward to StarCraft 2 as the #1 game, but this has grown on me even more. Pokemon Snap dropped a bit. It's like the gimmicks and tricks and stuff, once you know them, just aren't actually that interesting anymore, I guess. In replaying it, I was like, yeah, this is fun, but like, I remember originally as a kid, like poring over this stuff and trying and experimenting and doing these things, but once you know them, I guess they're not that interesting. And maybe it's unfair because the discovery is part of the fun. That is kind of the game, but overall, this is not meant to be an objective list. It's just my overall thoughts on them and how much I like them. And I love the memories of Pokemon Snap in the past, but I'm not looking forward to playing more. Oregon Trail, again, not to be confused with Oregon, zombies, brains. It's just funnier. Like, the writing is funnier than I remembered. It's very funny, actually. So yeah, and it also, there's like random events that you can find. Like, I did find a tombstone of a previous run I did, and I wasn't expecting it because the character was named after my dog, and oh man, that was rough. But just seeing stuff like that is really cool, though. So with Force Unleashed, I remembered being really powerful playing as Vader, and later on playing as Star Killer, being really powerful. I forgot about the whole strip you of all your powers at the start and be really slow at the beginning game. The pacing of this game is a little rough, so that's why it dropped. Psychonauts, kind of similar. The pacing is a little rough. Once you get access to all of these tools, actually the platforming is really cool and really fun. But before you have them, the platforming is kind of clunky and not that great. Dynasty Warriors 4 dropped a ton. Where? Okay, cool. I was just making sure that wasn't broken. So Dynasty Warriors 4 dropped a ton. Mostly the some of the elements that I remembered were in it. I was actually just combining my memories of Dynasty Warriors 5. So that's a large part of it. But just the flow of combat in 5 is so much better. It's crazy. Dynasty Warriors 4 is fine, but in the context of basically Dynasty Warriors is Dynasty Warriors, and 5 is by far the best one. That being said, I'm looking forward to trying the new one. We're gonna get that, and we're gonna try that. So that'll be fun. It's been getting really good reviews so far, so it looks cool. Deus Ex Human Revolution dropped a bit. Oh, I had a reason for this. Basically, oh yeah, I still haven't gotten, like, I think even to the halfway point of the game, and I've tried like 7 times, so that says something. The game is fun, but just somehow it keeps losing me, and I really don't know why, but apparently at some point I kind of bounce off of finishing it, but the parts I've played I've really enjoyed, so I don't know why. Alright, Super Hexagon dropped a lot. I think just there's not a lot of game there, and as I've started working on some of the highest difficulty stuff there, I've realized it is more luck than skill as far in just pure muscle memory of patterns. It's like pattern, input pattern, input pattern, input pattern, input pattern. But there's like getting through those things, as I've read guides and stuff even, of like, man, I keep hitting this wall, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna hit that wall if you keep it in that configuration. You just have to do it until you don't. Like, you have to hope for the right configuration. It's like, oh, well, that's kind of lame. Yeah, that's a lot of it. It is so funny to me when some stuff, like especially this far down, has stayed in the same spot. Final Fantasy Crisis Core, number 270, still number 270. That's funny to me. Alright, let's look for a couple other big ones. Kirby's Dream Land dropped off. It was easier than I remembered, even though I didn't even think of it as being difficult for sure. That being said, the challenge mode is difficult, but like, not in necessarily the good kind of way. I don't know, I need to tinker with it more. I've been doing a little bit of that on my Mii U as well. Maybe I'll get good at Kirby's Dream Land, but probably not. Here we go. Star Fox 64 dropped a ton, which is funny. I've spent the whole year talking about how putting Star Fox into other games makes them better games. But then actually Star Fox 64 dropped a ton. The big thing is that the dog fighting sections, like where you're fighting against Wolf, were way clunkier and harder than I remembered, and that extends to the multiplayer as well, of like trying to shoot at each other. And to me, the idea that actually probably the thing I did the most of in Star Fox 64 was the multiplayer, and that part being extra clunky kind of hurt me. Alright, Dance Dance Revolution dropped a ton. I forgot just how bad I am at it, and to be honest, I have lost any desire to try to get good at it. Original Legend of Zelda dropped a ton. It's just old, man. This game feels old, and not in like a classic. I mean, like, it is classic, but like the way that it is hard is no longer interesting to me. that's just kind of it. Super Smash Bros. Original dropped a ton. The roster is actually even smaller than I remembered, and the controls and the N64 controller sucks. And it does no favors to Super Smash Bros. Doing smash attacks is really hard. Maybe I just need to practice it more, but I have no desire to do so, nor do I have any need. So, I think that the game feel on Super Smash Bros., the original one, is way worse than I remembered. GoldenEye, same thing. N64 controller, not good. The game feel is way worse than I remembered. It's fine, it's fun if you do the multiplayer, but like the campaign is, I don't know. I was really struggling. I didn't enjoy the campaign really anymore, but the multiplayer is still fun. I promise that. Like, I do like the game. As a reminder, yeah, it's 314, but like, I like every game on this list. Original Super Mario Kart dropped a ton. Speaking of a really bad game feel, not only is the game feel here way worse than I remembered, but also I forgot that the characters are actually different, and it's just like, oh, well, if you don't pick this character, you're probably just gonna lose to that character. Like there's some characters that are just way faster than everybody else, and it's like not fair. It's cheating, and that's not interesting to me. Pokemon channel, I talked about in the live stream. I would pay a subscription service for the type of content that was made for Pokemon channel, but I don't care about doing the gameplay of Pokemon channel. I just want to watch the TV. Harvest Moon 64 dropped the most. And this is not fair to Harvest Moon 64. The game is fine, but I mean, Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life is terrific, but Stardew Valley kind of ruined most other farming simulators for me, because Stardew is so good that when things don't work like Stardew, or at least close enough, then suddenly they feel very bad. There are things I do still like about Harvest Moon 64, but unlike A Wonderful Life, where I can point at certain things and mechanics and ideas that it's like, oh, it does this better than Stardew for sure. It's just all of these other things that Stardew does better than A Wonderful Life. I can't point to a single thing that Harvest Moon 64 does better than Stardew, other than, I guess, you start with a dog. You don't. Well, no, you start with a dog at Stardew, right? I haven't made a new final Stardew in so long. Yeah, I got nothing. Nothing. So, and then kind of the bottom end of the list, for the most part, not that much change. Montaro sticking at 356. Look at that. And then, yeah, Pokemon Go dropped even further. Hey You Pikachu is now at the bottom at 364. Yeah, there we go. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff to dig through and look at. I just wanted to talk about my thoughts on some of the biggest changes and things that I cared the most about, for why they changed, to kind of give some context. That was an hour of me just talking nonstop, and I'm going to stop doing that. But if you... this list is going to be linked below, so if you want to check out the whole thing and really dig through all of these changes, that'll be down there for you to look at, and I hope you enjoy looking at it and seeing where my thoughts are with fresh memories, or relatively fresh memories on basically everything here. I think it's really interesting, and you'll have a better understanding of when I drop new things in, because I'm gonna drop new things in. And in theory, this will be an ever-evolving list. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that and hearing all of this. But I am going to head out, so you all have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.